today to listen to our presentation. We are very much honored to be here in Indiana to make a presentation of fascinating aspects of Japan, those of Nagasaki in particular. So we are here through KAKEHASHI project, and you might be wondering what KAKEHASHI means. KAKEHASHI in Japanese is a linking bridge between two places. So in this case, we would like to play the role of the bridge between Japan and Indiana. So, and we are grateful for this opportunity and hope our presentation will inspire you to get to know about Japan, and even more you would visit in Japan sometimes in the future. Well, we are members of the Nagasaki Global Plus course, an inter-department special program at Nagasaki University, which helps to develop international-oriented human resources. So, this is a map of Japan, and we came here all the way from Nagasaki, Japan. Here is Tokyo, and Nagasaki is way down here. The population of Nagasaki City is a little bit more than 430,000. And about 150 years ago, when the U.S. was in the frontier period, Japanese government of the time cut itself off from the world. Yet, Nagasaki was the only place which was allowed by the government to be open to only two countries, China and Holland. Since then, Western culture and Chinese culture has been mixed up and has penetrated into Nagasaki society in a lot of ways. Therefore, Nagasaki has remained as a global city for quite some time. So I would say people in Nagasaki are genetically programmed to be globally minded. Okay, so the title of our presentation today is A View from Nagasaki, KAKEHASHI Project. In our presentation, we will introduce about Japanese four seasons and food culture in Nagasaki. So let us start with the four seasons that Japanese people are fortunate to have. So first, you will introduce about Japanese seasons. Please, a little bit wait. You ready?
Yes, actually, that payment is 20 on 20 dollars. I'm really sorry for you. I will be tired, thank you.
Yeah.
I talked about four seasons in Japan. As there are four seasons in the United States, so there are four seasons in Japan too. What's unique about Japan's four seasons is each season is associated with specific color. For example, spring is associated with color blue, summer with red, autumn with white, and winter with black. You are probably wondering why that's so. Perhaps you might ask why white is not related to winter. Well, when one thinks about why, one must refer to ancient Chinese culture. So let us tell you about the cultural associations of the colors with four seasons. Next, Akari will talk about spring.
Thank you. The I will talk about spring in Japan. To begin with, I'd like to ask you a question. So what color do you associate with spring? Maybe green? In Japanese culture, spring is associated with blue. When it comes to blue, blue is deeply connected to the concept of usefulness in Japanese culture. The time of usefulness is called blue spring, where one is enjoying one's youth to the fullest. Blue spring is another name for Japanese spring because it can be compared to spring in one's life when it is filled with dreams and hopes. When you are young, Japanese people would say, "You are in the midst of blue spring, aren't you?" And in spring, moreover, the new academic year starts in elementary school, junior high schools, and colleges. Even companies, organizations, and the government begin in spring. In other words, spring is when things start. Most noteworthy is that Japanese people admire cherry blossoms. Around March or April, cherry blossoms are in full bloom. While sitting under the cherry blossom trees, we frequently view and enjoy beautiful cherry blossoms over drinks. And sometimes you see a lot of people singing karaoke. Cherry blossoms, also known as sakura, is closely linked with joy and happiness for Japanese people. Because, for example, you can receive a notification from university saying sakura saku. It literally means cherry blossoms are blooming. But actually, it means you have been accepted to a program in the university or college that you applied for. Next, Uchi will explain about summer in Japan.
Thank you, Akari. Thank you, Akari. Can you see me before I stand here? Thank you. I'm Gucci, and I'm really happy to be in charge of the summer birds because I love the summer in Japan. Actually, one reason is my birthday is that in August. Well, I have more to talk about summer in Japan. Summer in Japan is connected to a vermilion color, a cinnamon red. Perhaps you could easily imagine that when you think about the burning sun when it's really hot. Summer in Japan is hot and humid, but it is also the best season for festivals, launching fireworks, and enjoying some cooling desserts. In summer, we see some fireworks set up up in the air. It is amazingly spectacular. We wear yukata and cotton kimono and enjoy the fireworks with friends and family. As for food, we are really looking forward to eating kakigori, a cooling dessert. It is a fluffy hill of shaved ice flavored with various kinds of sweet syrup. It is so cold, and eating it makes our brains sometimes freeze. But we are really happy to feel that summer has come. Next, Moe will going to introduce about autumn in Japan.
Thank you, Buchi. Okay, let's move on to autumn. Autumn is when everyone is feeling calm and is enjoying seeing the changing leaves. In Japanese, we have phrases like autumn is the best season for reading and autumn is best season for art. So perhaps you might like to associate autumn with the color of changing leaves, red. However, Japanese culture claims that autumn is associated with the color with white. White represents the scenery that can be observed after we rebirth. autumn is also a harvest time for rice crops, and we can enjoy beautiful years of rice. Next, Ayaka is going to introduce winter.
Thank you, Moe. Finally, I will introduce the color of winter. In general, winter reminds you of snow, and snow is easily associated with white. In Japan, however, the color of winter is black, and the idea is based on the image of clouds on snowy days. When one traces all the way back to the ancient literature, black might be related to the later years of one's life. Although snow sometimes prevents us from commuting to school, snow brings us a lot of fun. For example, some Japanese people make shelters of snow and enjoy eating rice cake. Others play with a snowball. We introduced about 4 seasons in Japan. Next, let's move on to calligraphy performance.
Hi everyone, I'm Kagumi, and now 2 of us are going to demonstrate Japanese calligraphy. Some of us have talked about 4 seasons in Japan, so we are going to try writing each season in Japanese on a big sheet of paper. Have you ever seen someone writing Japanese calligraphy? I'm sure it will be exciting to see them in front of you. Okay guys, off you go.
Thank you.
provide a selected few talented people with a special program for calligraphy. And after they graduate, they can become a professional calligraphers.
And I have written dance, which means summer. And this one is dance. At first glance, it might appear to be easy, but actually it is not. In fact, I have been learning Japanese calligraphy for years. However, there are still numerous techniques that I need to avoid.
Hi, I'm Nana. I have written Aki, which means autumn, and Fuyu, which means winter in English. How do they look? I have practiced Japanese calligraphy for 3 years, and I think I want to continue to practice Japanese calligraphy from now on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your attention. Next, Nobuaki is going to talk about food culture.
Thank you, Kagumi. That was amazing performance. Next, I will tell you about Japanese food. The Japanese food is called washoku in Japanese language. Washoku was registered as a UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage in 2013. Japanese food such as sushi, sashimi, and tempura are well known, and I'm sure you all have already tried one or the other. So, may I ask you, can anybody give me an example of local food in Indiana? Local food in Indiana?
Pork tenderloin.
Nothing?
Yeah, pork tenderloin.
Fried chicken.
Thank you. Just as there are local food in the United States, there are also local food in Nagasaki. There are two famous noodle dishes in Nagasaki. One is called champon, and the other is called salado. The only difference between the two foods is that champon is a noodle in soup, and salado has thick sauce over the noodles. People eat them every season of the year. The ingredients of champon are usually cabbage, carrot, pork, and seafood, such as shrimp and squid. Please correct me if I am wrong, but what I've heard that it is unusual to cook pork and seafood together in one dish in the United States. Is that right? However, in champon and salado, pork and seafood are cooked together, and it must seem unique to you. Next, we will tell you more about champon and salad.
Thank you, Nobu. So I will tell you about the details of champon and salad. If you know what ramen is, it would be easy for you to picture what champon looks like. Have you ever heard ramen? Really? It's similar to ramen, but champon has a much longer history behind it and was invented by Chinese people living in Nagasaki about 300 years ago. The biggest difference between the two is the noodles. Sarah has dry and crispy noodles, and which is one of the reasons why people love Sarah udon, while champon noodles are soft and cooked. How they were invented was very unique. Chinese people living in Nagasaki cooked Chinese-style noodles with the ingredients that they could find in Japan for hungry Chinese students. When it was cooked and delivered to the students, the soup of the noodles often spilled from the bowl, so they invented noodles that had sauce over the noodles, and instead of soup in a bowl. There, Sarah udon was born. Japanese people also fell in love with the taste of the two dishes, and they became the local food of Nagasaki. Now, Nagasaki is so famous for these two foods, and people from different parts of Japan visit Nagasaki to enjoy these two most wondering Nagasaki foods. Next, Yurie will tell you about the castella.
Thank you, Mary. Finally, I'll talk about Japanese sweets. Have you ever tried Japanese sweets in the United States? When Japanese people make sweets, they use less sugar than non-Japanese do. In Nagasaki, there is a special cake called castella. Castella is a sponge cake which is made of flour, sugar, and eggs. It was introduced to Nagasaki by missionaries from Portugal in the mid-16th century. At that time, it was valued as a nutritious food since there weren't any sweets in Japan that used eggs as a part of the ingredients, and people quickly fell in love with the taste of it. And today, there are many kinds of castella in Nagasaki, and it comes in different flavors like chocolate, strawberry, cheese, and green tea. And I think it proves how much people enjoy castella. Now we have introduced the three most notable dishes in Nagasaki, and I hope you enjoyed it. Guess what? We have brought some castella for you. Please help yourself to the castella. I'm sure you all enjoy it. Finally, Tomokero is going to close our presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. So far, we have presented with you with the fascinating aspects of Japan and Japanese culture. We have particularly focused on Nagasaki. I am wondering our presentation was. To be globally minded, we applied for the KAKEHASHI project, and the KAKEHASHI project brought us here. I am hoping our presentation would lead you to come to Nagasaki. That's all. Thank you for listening.